Jai Gurudev. Jai
Jai
Gurudev,
Gurudev.
Patti.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev.
So, second week, Guru Stories with Patti Montella. We all had very amazing time listening to your Guru Stories last week. And we have an announcement today from Patti. Patti, what is it?
Oh, well, today is the 1-year anniversary of launching my book, Becoming Unshakable, Wisdom Learned on the Journey to Inner Freedom. And to celebrate the book's birthday, we are offering a 25% discount from July 10th to July 21st. So if you were thinking of getting the book, I would get it now during this time frame. It's just a little, a birthday celebration.
You know, I would like to tell all of you this book is a must read. Last time we heard how Gurudev was insisting her to write a book, but I would like to show all of you some. Can you see my screen? So this is the part of Guru Stories we are covering. I know you can't read, but this is the part of Guru Stories we are covering in the video. And we were thinking, we shortlisted few Guru Stories, and there are so many Guru Stories we can't do because we don't have that much of time. So I would say, and this is not this is not the entire list of Guru Stories which are there in book. In book, there are many more. So I would say what you have heard till now might be 5%, 10%, and there is so much more. So go on the link given in the description below. So which story we are starting with?
So today I want to tell you a story about a water balloon and Gurudev.
Oh.
So it was the 4th of July, and we were in Denver, Colorado. This was in 1996, and I had just met him the night before. And I had been told that I'd done so much seva, and my teacher was going to arrange for me to meet with him privately. And I thought, wow, that's really nice. And I had some questions. I was thinking about starting my own company. I was thinking of leaving my career with American Airlines. And I wanted to seek his guidance like we all do. So it didn't happen that night. And the next morning, my teacher said, well, it's going to be a small group of people, maybe 10 or 12, but it's going to happen. I said, okay, I understand. That's fine. Then the third time my friend came to me that day and said, well, it's going to be a bigger group of people. Now, mind you, I don't know anything about gurus. I don't have any idea how famous Gurudev is and what the protocol is and how rare it is to be in his presence whatsoever. I just had come from a different world. So when the third change came, I thought, what's going on? And now there's going to be so many people. And I was a little irritated with it. I did not have the strongest patience in the world in those days at all. So finally, I walk in the room that day, and it's completely packed with people, wall to wall, and I am not happy about it. I thought, you got to be kidding me. How am I going to have a private conversation like this? So I sat in the back of the room against this brick wall, fuming. My temper was flaring. And it was the 4th of July, and some of the volunteers had put a bucket of water balloons next to Gurudev, thinking we were all going to go out and play and have some fun with water balloons. So he had this red water balloon in his hand, and I'm sitting, there must have been, I don't know, maybe 100 people in the room. Yeah, not private, not 10 or 12, not 30, maybe 100. I'm in the back against the wall, and he kept tossing this water balloon back and forth in his hands. And the whole time he's talking nicely with people, blessing, solving problems. My mind is chewing. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go? What is this? This is taking forever. I don't think I want to do this. What is all this waiting? There is just so much agitation in my mind. And this water balloon, I kept watching him just looking back at me and tossing the balloon back and forth. And I don't know how long it took, but finally at one point I reasoned that, well, I was here and he's an enlightened guru and maybe something will work out. I guess I'll just stay. And as soon as my ego thinned down and I surrendered, boom, all in the same flash, that water balloon had gone over my head and smashed against the brick wall behind me, and cool water came down on my head. I looked around at it like it was no coincidence that when I dropped the agitation, boom, he threw it with precision right over my head. And in the next instant, all the people got up, and it was like a parting of the waves. And I went right up to him, knelt down, and we had a one-on-one conversation. It was just a happening. And I started to say that I had a career with the airline industry, and I was thinking of changing it to, I didn't even get to finish what I was thinking of changing it to. Before I finished my sentence, he said, "Oh, you'll be a full-time art of living teacher." I had no idea what that meant. And I found myself saying yes. With no thought in my head, I said, "Oh, okay, yeah." As though I'd been thinking about it for a year. I literally never thought about it. I'd only been in the art of living a year. It was not a consideration. It was just a random thought, oh, I could teach this one day. That's it. And there were just 3 full-time teachers at the time in America. I say yes. And then I asked him, what will I do? You know, maybe there's something with children, with the youth. He said, I'll tell you, not right now, in a little bit of time. He told me to stay with my career just a little bit longer. And that was it. I got prasad, I got up, I left, and when was that? 98, again in July. In 98, I actually quit my job, my career. My boss at the time had started in the company with me. He really didn't know what to think. He was so shocked that I was quitting. He had no idea what I was quitting for, and why I was walking away from all that money and all those benefits and that kind of a lifestyle. And I never told him. I remember my colleagues saying to me, "Do you feel like the rat that got out of the maze?" I said, "Yes, I absolutely do." And not having a clue what I was walking into or why was I doing it, I quit my career, and Guruji had me drive him that day to the venue he was going to speak at. And it was funny. I heard someone yell my name in Spanish as Guruji was getting in the car. 3 times I heard it, to the point I said to him, "Are you saying my name in Spanish?" And he said, "No, besides, that's not your name anymore." Of course, it's been my name. It's on my book. It's still my name. But it was an indication that that's not who you are anymore. So that was 4th of July of, let's see, when was that? 1998. And by September then, I was living at the German ashram.
You know, we have now recorded few stories, and I have seen many people who go to Gurudev and ask if that they want to be full-time, and Gurudev guide them to do some business or stay in their field or do something else. And there are many people who, like I went to Gurudev to take guidance about my business and take a blessing for the big contract I got. He blessed it and said, "Now you be full-time from today." So I have seen Gurudev giving complete opposite direction to many people, blessing many people for their own whatever they are doing so that it grows. So I think he because he knows what is best for every individual. So
Yes.
And he guides everybody on the path.
Right.
I said it because many people had started commenting that they want to leave their job and be full time.
You know, I want to address that also, if I could. we get these romantic notions about what it is. I had them too. I didn't become full-time other than he said it. I said yes. I didn't know what I was walking into. And, you know, to be a full-time teacher, it's like anything. There will be ups and downs, pluses and minuses. To this day, it is the best thing that ever happened to me because especially it was just Guru Purnima, and we reflect on our life and we reflect on where were we a year ago, where are we now? And recently, Guruji's asked us to reflect on what would our life be like if we hadn't come to Art of Living. You know, I tell you, Digvijay, if I hadn't come to Art of Living and if he hadn't made me a full-time teacher, I just think I would have been unhealthy. I would have been unhappy. It just would have been such an empty life. So the fact that I'm full-time means I was ready to delve deep into spirituality and be okay with giving everything up. And he knew that before I even knew it. But people don't always understand the degree to what that is required, and that you have to be a pioneer out on your own, creating on your own, which so many of us are, but there's sacrifices along the way. So along with the blessings, like during a lockdown, I can be in India and I don't have to worry about a house, and I don't have to worry about taking care of any of those mundane things in life. I can be here. That's a blessing. That's a plus. But there's also a lot of sacrifice. You look at the swamis. They don't become swamis without extraordinary sacrifice. You look at Gurudev. He's honest about, in the beginning, he says, I became a guru by accident. I became a full-time teacher by accident. I didn't know it was going to happen. So I just think we have to really understand what it means to do that and get beyond these romantic notions that we think we're going to be sitting around going to every puja with Gurudev and traveling the world with him. No, when you go full time, it means you're agreeing to go out and be a pillar for society without him, because he has enough people around him. He needs us out there doing the work. So I always say to my students, and many of my students who've been on the path by now have seen it themselves, we really are the light. We are bringing the light, whether it is as a householder, whether it is in that company, whether it is at your children's school. Guruji, whether you're full-time or you're not full-time, I'm thrilled I'm full-time. And I'm honest about it in my book, that there were ups and downs, and were there times I wanted to run away? Yes. Just like anything, because that's the nature of the mind. If something begins to be unpleasant, we want to run away. And if you read my book, you'll see I started running away from unpleasant situations at like 4 years old. That's my tendency with the fight or flight. I'm on the flight end because I'll say, okay, I'll just take care of myself. But then you have to look at, what are you running away from? So we get these romantic ideas. If I wasn't running a company or taking care of a house, I would be with Guruji all the time. No, you would not. You'll be doing your seva all the time. You'll be doing your sadhana all the time. You'll be uplifting society all the time. And there will be times when you can really delve into the knowledge on the path and not worry about going home because your vacation's over. But if you're full-time, Guruji can also say, your vacation's over. So it's just a different lifestyle. And I'm really grateful that he designated me to be full-time. But I just want to make sure that people understand, wherever you are, you're bringing his light and his presence. You're representing him. So walk with that dignity, that royalty, that pride of who and what you are a part of.
I have seen many part-time teachers who are contributing even more than many full-time teachers.
You better believe it.
So yes, I am saying this because many people commented, and I have seen many part-time teachers who are more regular than sadhana and who are more into their sadhana, their practices, than full-time teachers, more into knowledge than full-time teachers. So I think what is good for you, Gurudev will let that happen. But this reminds me of one incident. I was new into full time, and I was thinking I still had my business on for some time. So that time my business was on, and I was also full time teacher. So I was thinking, what is this full time? You are also having a business and a full time. So how can this be full time? At that time, and we all full time teachers were there, and Gurudev asked, why you have become full time to the group. He asked, and people were giving answers to do seva, to do this, to do that. He said, even part-time teachers are doing better seva than many of you. I don't know, he was saying contribution you can anyway do. Then he took a pause, because few people might had some few people sitting there, they might had some complaint, that they went somewhere, the arrangement was not proper, they could not adjust to the locals where they went. They might be sitting with few complaints. He said, why I made you full time? He said, I made you full time because the only focus of your life is to get the knowledge of the self. And all the questions, all the, whatever was going in the mind about organization, efforts, personal life, everything just got dropped.
That's it. That's it. I went full time because he told me to. Nothing more than that. That was it. And exactly what you said, like right now, I'm really blessed. He's asked me to work with a few others on editing Ashtavakra Gita and making it, preparing it for the Western audience. It's been a long time since we've looked at it. And what do you think's happening? I am single-pointed focus for 10 hours a day on Ashtavakra Gita, which is one of my favorite spiritual texts. And it's polishing the little nooks and crannies and doubts and habits and patterns. It's a gift to that kind of work. It's wonderful work to be able to do that. I'm not going to deny it. It's much more interesting than putting people in airplane seats like I did 25 years ago. But have no doubt, whatever savor we do, it is for ourselves and our own growth. And at the same time, we're doing good for society. And for me, it's always been my nature to be a volunteer. So it was a natural fit.
We have always seen Gurudev living his life with such compassion, such humility. I'm sure you must be having experiences of that too.
Yes, I do.
So, any stories around that?
Yeah, I have a few that really have made an indelible impression, a good vasana, on me forever. One of the first ones was when I moved to the German ashram. And if you've been to the German ashram, it's a very, very big building. And when Guruji's there, it's full of people. But just after he's there, there's not a lot of people, right? There's not a lot of ashramites. And I was an ashramite there. And early one morning, I got up to go to the Jesus or the Krishna hall. And I think it was like 6:30 in the morning. I don't know why I was going there, maybe to lead yoga. And as I walked through the double doors leading to the hall in this long corridor, I heard somebody walking before me, and lo and behold, it was Gurudev. Now, there is a restroom just before you get into the first hall on that floor that a lot of people use. And I stayed back. It was so quiet and peaceful. I didn't want to disturb Gurudev. And I watched him, and he went in that restroom, and then I heard doors opening, cupboards closing, like he was looking for something. And then I peeked a little bit more, and I saw him taking the paper rolls out and replenishing the paper for your hands and the paper in the restroom. I tell you, my breath just stopped. I was in such awe that here he is, the Lord of the universe, and the most revered guru of our time, taking care that even the devotees would have paper to dry their hands before they continued, taking care of himself. He didn't ask somebody to do it. He didn't tell somebody to do it. He just took that responsibility. And when I say it made an indelible mark on my consciousness, I really mean it, because that was such a lesson in responsibility. And not thinking we are somebody or we aren't somebody, just seeing the need and responding to the need in front of you and being completely humble about it and walking, with that royal dignity, but being hollow and empty at the same time. It was really something. And then a few years later, again in Germany, we were running to catch a flight. We were back then, we didn't have a lot of money in the foundation, and still today we're always juggling things. We're a nonprofit. That's the nature of a nonprofit. And we had this van. We were so excited that we had gotten a used van, like a minivan, to take people back and forth between the German ashram and the airport, because it's a 2-hour drive. And Guruji was in the van. I was flying somewhere with him. I don't remember where, maybe India. It was raining. It was raining nonstop. It was so much rain. So we pull up to the airport and we check our luggage in. And all of a sudden, in all that rain, Guruji has us go back in the van. And I'm thinking, what are we doing? We're at the airport. So he tells me to keep him on time because the plane was leaving. It's not like we were at the airport 6 hours early. We're just there 2 hours ahead of time. He said, Patti, when it's time, we're going to meet a devotee for breakfast who lives near the airport. When it's time to leave, you tell me that it's time to leave. And whatever time you say it's time to leave, that's when we'll leave. So I said, okay. I said, Gurudev, these people must be very important. Are they politicians or someone famous? Why are we doing this? And he looked at me like I had two heads. He said, they're devotees. They've been wanting me to come to their house for so many years. This is my first chance to do it. Just because it was the wish of a devotee. He went so far out of his way in that really bad weather. With that time crunch, we went to the house. It was like 10 minutes from the airport. Their living area was full of every kind of food you could think of. He ate just a little bit of everything. And then I pointed to my watch. I mean, he wasn't even there 10 minutes. But I'm sure they tell this story for generations to come, the day Gurudev came to their house. And that's it. We had to really rush back to the airport. We had to run to make our flight. And we just made the flight, of course, the grace of the Guru, that's going to happen. And we continued on our way. And that was just a reminder to, not just, it was a profound reminder and lesson, I guess, to me of how precious each of us are to Gurudev and how he is so aware of our wishes and our most cherished desires, especially when it comes to time with him. So if you just wait and be patient, which I have to remind myself of too, heart of a devotee is there's never enough time with the Guru. But all the wishes will be fulfilled. If it's a sattvic wish and it's the best for you, it will be fulfilled. And then the third example I want to give you was one of those moments that I literally will never forget. It was Silver Jubilee in Bangalore, India, where we had millions of people from all over the world coming in. And Gurudev had prepared us saying that, there could be road jams, bring things to entertain yourself in the car, to go from the ashram to Jakur airfield, and bring some snacks, bring some water. We didn't know what it was going to be like to get from the ashram all the way to the airfield. And amazingly, there was no traffic jam. It was smooth sailing. We enjoyed, I think it was 3 days of that extravaganza. It was just mind-blowing to see what took place during Silver Jubilee during those days and the celebration of Gurudev's 50th birthday. So on the last day, I got a call. I was so excited. A few of us were invited to go to an event that Guruji was at, like a post-Silver Jubilee celebration at the home of a devotee nearby. And then everyone went back to their hotel or wherever they were staying, and we were all supposed to go to the ashram, back to the ashram the next day. And there was some rumor that he might lead the Rudram early that morning at Jakur Airfield, but then there was a lot of discussion. No, all the internationals should go back. Everybody should go back to the Bangalore ashram. He'll do the Rudram in the afternoon. So my friend Susanna and I were sharing a room, and I said, I don't know. I feel like if he's going to do Rudram at 7 a.m., I would much rather start my day that way than getting into the busyness of the day and returning to the ashram. What do you think? And she said, I feel the same way. So our roommates, we left them sleeping. We took a taxi. We get to the airfield. Now, we don't know where it's going to be. We don't know if it's going to happen. And you cannot believe how different that airfield looked the next day, for millions of people and events and colors and fragrances and foods and activities going on. Just the night before to that morning, there wasn't a soul there. You could see a piece of paper just skipping along the concrete by itself. There were, sanitation workers here and there to clean up the debris that was left. It was silent. So we walked in and just looked, and we looked toward the stage, that massive stage, was now broken down into only one short piece of stage. And who was there on top of the stage? Was Gurudev with the farmers. So many farmers had come to be a part of Silver Jubilee. We had made arrangements for them, Gurudev had. And at the top of the stage, with his beautiful garments flying in the wind, there he was by himself with about 25 farmers, trying to get them organized to sit for the Rudram, to settle down. And he saw Susanna and I, and he motioned for us to come up to help him. Not that he needs help, but it made us feel like we were useful. And we helped get everyone settled down. And Susanna had her flute and did some bhajans. And we sat there with Gurudev and the farmers. No movie cameras, no celebrities, no politicians, just Gurudev and his people doing the Rudram that morning. And the simplicity of it, the sincerity of it, to see him there for the people just reminded me of what a taxi driver said to me the first time I came to India. On my way to the ashram, he said, oh, Sri Ravishankar is your guru. You are so fortunate. He is a guru of the people. And there I was, seeing him with people, being a guru in, full form. It was so, so precious and so beautiful. So yeah, there's always so many stories of his compassion with us as devotees, with everyone who he meets, in every instance, in every breath that he takes. And if you relax a little bit, not always trying to be so feverish to be right there up in front next to him, just watch him, observe, see how he moves through life, walking as though he's on a cloud. And that is what he's teaching us to do as well. It's a beautiful learning and a beautiful experience, at least I think so, to sit back and just watch him.
So I heard that there are some funny incidences during the Millennium Course in Italy.
So the Millennium Course was, everyone thought Y2K is happening and it's going to be the end of the world because the calendar was going to change, and there was going to be all kinds of chaos in the computer programming. Nobody knew what was going to happen except Gurudev. He would continually say, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. But we felt like we didn't know, and we hoped that and trusted that whatever Gurudev said, that's the way it was going to be. So we took a bus from the German ashram to Italy, up in Tuscany, and people came from all over the world. It was spiritual chaos at its best. And one afternoon, I went up to the dining hall, and there was this man sitting in a booth, and I heard him saying to people, oh, they're selling Kriya tapes for $10 in the Divine Shop. You better hurry up and get one. And I thought, what is this guy saying? And back then, there weren't a lot of teachers. There were teachers. It's not like the hundreds of thousands that there are today. And the idea of getting a Kriya tape at any time is just a big wow. So when people heard and thought and believed this man that they were selling Kriya tapes for $10 in the Divine Shop, you had to see they would just flip out that this was happening and run to go get their $10 Kriya tape. By the time he told the third person this, and I saw the person flip out and run to go get their tape, I slid in the booth and I said, I don't know who you are, but I think we need to become friends. I know you're pulling a joke on people. What's your name? Well, his name is Shirish Soni. And if you know Shirish, he's the ambassador in Italy for South Africa today. And he's been an Art of Living teacher forever, and he's a prankster with an amazing sense of humor. We became instant good friends with him, and then, of course, his beautiful wife, Rueda, who was there as well. And it was hilarious to me. And I got him to stop pulling that joke on people after a while. And that course was so special. That was the ending of 1999 and the beginning of a new millennium, 2000. And on the last day of 1999, I think it was about maybe 200 of us went to the beach with Gurudev. Can you imagine 200 people at the beach? A big family he has. And we lined up in a row. And I don't know how it happened. I think it was just pure sankalpa. I got to sit next to Gurudev, and we had a long line of people in front of the ocean. And as the sun was setting, he led us into a guided meditation, which was so symbolic because, as you know, Gurudev says we're just bubbles. All these personalities are just bubbles on the ocean. We're just the wave, united, not even united in the ocean. We're in the ocean. And here we were in front of the ocean with the Gurudev, the ocean himself, 200 or so of his waves, bidding adieu to one millennium and welcoming another. It was magical. And that night we had a big satsang in the hall, and his mother, Amma, had just passed away in November, and this was December. And he began to speak that night about a very special woman in his life, and it was his mother. A little tear in his eye, which of course it's because we all had tears in our eyes, those of us who knew her and had spent time with her and just knew the precious connection between a mother and a son, particularly this mother and this son. And that night, right at midnight, where we had all kinds of fireworks, Gurudev had already gone off to his suite, and he's such a cool guru. He told us to go and enjoy New Year's Eve. And I was very young at the time, as were a lot of people who are now senior teachers. And there was a disco ball upstairs. And we went to dance, have pizza and soda. He let us just be kids and party, sattvic partying, along with being in that beauty of meditation and the wisdom and the, grace of the guru. So it was a very special ending of one time and welcoming of a new time.
You mentioned about Amma, and whichever stories we have heard, she was such a great host. She would welcome everybody in her house. She always make sure that people eat and go. She used
Yes,
to make
yes,
dosa. So,
is just like that, isn't she?
yeah. So what is your experience with meeting Amma?
Well, I didn't have a lot of experiences, just a few, and so grateful for it. So the first time I came to India, I had a few experiences with Amma, and then again, I met with her in Canada, but India was where it was most profound. And it was the first time we were going to Rishikesh. And I got assigned on the bus from Delhi to Rishikesh that Amma was on with her friend. And there were so many things in that first trip to India. I had no idea about anything, and everything was new. So I get on the bus, and she was just easily chatting with one of her good friends, and she had the metal container that is used for your snacks and food. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I saw food going into it and coming out of it. And that's a long bus ride. That was a 12-hour bus ride. And just like Gurudev, he has this ability that food just seems to expand. That was a container that was only maybe this big. Wasn't a big one. It was a bus full of people, and Amma was sending food back. We were getting really hungry. We didn't have food on the bus. How did she feed all of us? I don't know. We ate to our heart's content out of the food in that little container. It had maybe 4 containers within the one. And that was my first, who is this Amma? How is that happening? And then later in Rishikesh, this was really special. A couple from America was getting married. And I had gone to see the caves that saints were known for having meditated in. And I had meditated in one of the caves that morning and was walking by some area on the side of the ashram. This before we had our own ashram, many years before we had our own ashram. This was 98. And there was a wedding going on, and Pittaji and Amma were there, and they motioned for me to come and sit next to them. So I sat next to them, and as the wedding went on, Pittaji was explaining to me what was happening. Now, I thought Amma didn't speak English. But whenever Pittaji would say something that she felt needed to be corrected, she knew exactly what he was saying to me, and she would correct him. And I got to understand about the significance of walking around the fire 7 times and many other things. It was so, so precious. It was just the 3 of us sitting there watching this together, and it felt like I was with my own parents who were guiding me and teaching me.